Welcome. Welcome to this live stream. My name is Hasnain and I am part of the Young Innovators Network. This live stream is a part of a series of live streams where we'll be going, which is called Study Success Secret. We'll be going through study efficiency and productivity tips for primary, high school, and university students. Joining me on the panel today is Shayan and Ayan. So, can we introduce ourselves, please? Let's go to Shayan first.
Hey, my name is Shian, and I'll just do something. Yep. My name is Shian. I'm a student in year 11 right now, and currently I'm studying somewhere around Minto, New South Wales. Otherwise, I'm also part of my SRC. I'm the vice captain, and that's about it for me.
Okay, thank you, Shayan. Now, can we go to Ayan, please?
Hello everyone, my name is Zayan Ali and I am currently in year 6 and I am also in the SRC and I am the vice captain and I go to the same school as Shayan. And yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you to our panel for introducing themselves. Now, let's go to the main subject topic for this live stream today, which is getting top marks in your assessments, assignments, and projects. So let's give some background context here. Every student, there's no doubt about it that every student wants to get the highest marks possible in their assignments. And most people want to find an easy way to get the best marks for their assignment. And eventually this would lead to better marks in the future. But many people, unfortunately, in our day and age, are approaching it in the wrong way. And so, what do others suggest about doing your assignments and getting top grades for them? So, this is what we are going to see when we are watching a video about how to score easily high marks in assessments. So, let's watch this video.
Aloha amigos. Doing great? Well, doesn't seem so. Failed to get the desired grades in the last assignment? Here's a perfect guide to turn it to A+. Well, the secret is, you need to prepare yourself mentally as well as technically. We bring to you the simplest way of scoring an A+ in your assignment writing task, directly from the writer's desk. Let's peep into both the aspects one at a time. Your assignment grades will skyrocket if you work on them with the same dedication that you have when you are playing some game that you desperately want to win. Here are a few steps to keep yourself motivated. Work on your mindset, as this would help you look on the brighter side of the picture and earn you great grades. Have a plan that you need to follow. No, we're here not talking about the schedule, but the work plan, areas to focus and the common mistakes to pay attention to. Break your tasks into smaller chunks and allot enough time for each of them. This would reduce the pressure of stringent deadline and help you do better. Now that you know your steps, the next big thing to do is work on reminding yourself the work as well as the plan that you have.
So let's just go back to this part. So basically, the first part of this video talks about mentally preparing yourself for doing assignments. So I'm going to ask the panel now about what they think about these suggestions about mentally preparing yourself for assignments, and if they have any other suggestions they can give us from their personal experiences. So can we go to Shayan, if you have any suggestions?
Well, if I'm talking about suggestions for tips, I think there are going to be more mentioned here, so I'll just mention those at the end. But otherwise, there is one thing she did say, because it's a reaction thing, I'm just gonna try and give my thoughts and opinions so far. There's one thing she said, that to treat your assignment, or if you give it as much time as you do to things such as games, right? So what happened is that when you hear comments like this as a student, there's number one is that you're kind of offended in the sense that when you play games, you play it as a way of getting rid of stress, right? So we don't play games because, oh, we play games because we think that playing games will help us in the sense that it'll improve us. No, we play it for our own enjoyment and entertainment. something to engage us in, right? But when it comes to things like assignments, then what happens is that, assignments and studies, we don't dedicate as much time sometimes because it's stressful. It's not helpful sometimes, and it gets very irritating, especially if you have really bad subjects. So that's, in my opinion, that's not the right way to approach it if you're going to tell someone or give someone advice about such things. And that's something parents do a lot, which also turn off kids a lot from studying and hate studying in general. So that's something I feel like the video should not have done in the first place, that comment in particular. Otherwise, what was the first tip? I just want to know.
I think it was talking about like having an action plan about how you're gonna do your assignment, like actually how you're gonna do it throughout the process.
Can you scrub over it in the video if that's okay? Just so I can see.
Sure.
Okay, yep.
It was here.
That's fine, that's fine. So growth mindset. Can we see that first?
Yeah.
There we go. So changing your mindset does matter a lot. However, the mindsets that are mentioned here, or the thoughts that are mentioned here, aren't helpful at all, such as I can do it. Sure, you can tell yourself that I can do it, but that won't do much else. Having confidence in knowing that you can do something is helpful. However, you should already know that this is something that's easy for you. Saying you can do something can sometimes make you feel like it's going to be difficult, but you're able to do it. Saying that something is easy for you improves your self-esteem. That's one thing. But other things that aren't useful at all is saying the teacher would like the subject. Remember, in our grade, year 11 and year 12, and maybe year 10 for some schools, you choose your subjects. It doesn't matter whether or not the teacher likes the subject. So this mindset isn't helpful, especially in senior grades. And what was that last one they're writing right there?
Let me just quickly play it, if that's okay.
It's
Yeah, so this what it was saying. I need not to think about it.
What's that last part? Okay.
I
I
think
think that's meant
it's
to say at all. That's fine.
yeah.
Anyways, that's all I need to say.
Okay, thank you, Shayan, for your input, and that's a good point made there by Shayan. That sometimes the things mentioned on the screen right now may not help in some cases, and these eventually are not useful to some extent. Like, for example, teacher will like the subject. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, and whether a teacher would like a certain subject or not. It's about whether you like the subject, because the student's doing the assignment, not the teacher. So it's a good point made there by Shayan. Ayan, do you have any thoughts and opinions based on this growth mindset?
Yes, I do. But as Shayan said that I can do it, it's only gonna help when you have something easy. Even if you have something hard, it's just you already have so much stress, and then you're just like, oh, I can do it. But then you can do it, but it takes a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of stress, and it doesn't really matter if the teacher likes it or not. It's really about you. So, and I need, and how it says you don't need to think about it at all. You need to think about it. It's not like you can just like skip it. You need to think about it. That's all I have to say.
Yep. Thanks, Ayan, for your input. So let's go to the next point, which is
have
about
a
an
plan
action
that you
plan.
need to follow. No, we're here not talking about the schedule, but the work plan. Areas to focus on the common mistakes.
So this specific mental preparation talks about having an action plan, and so I'm going to ask the panel again. Shayan, do you have any thoughts about what it says on the screen right now? For example, it says evaluate all assignments, or make a simple table, write common errors, and add colors. Do you have any objections to this, or do you have any other suggestions that you'd like to add?
I don't know why they would say add colors. If there's a reason behind it, probably should have mentioned why you would have wanted to add colors. However, it is very useful to evaluate old assignments, and making a table isn't necessary. it's better to make a list. Lists stick better. Lists are easier to record. So instead of making a simple table, writing about feedback, etc., have a list, and you can branch off the list. You can do whatever you want. You can even make a brainstorm. But instead, making a list helps you much better. And writing common errors and stuff is good, but when you're evaluating your old assignments, you already should be writing common errors. If you're doing that afterwards, that means you're not evaluating properly.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say regarding that. However, this is useful.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question, Shayan. It does say that add colors to make it stay in your mind. Do you necessarily think that this is true, or do you have any other reason behind why they would say add colors? Because you said that the
Probably
video should
because
mention.
a lot of science and research shows things such as that if you involve certain senses with certain memories, those stick to you better, right? So I'm guessing using that as a thought, they might have added that point. However, I'm not really sure about the validity or the effectiveness of actually adding colors, because even though it's like if you're a student and you highlight things in your textbook, sometimes highlighting does work for you, sometimes it doesn't at all. Like it just doesn't help you, but it would be the same as underlining certain points for you to remember. That's how I see it, in my opinion. So its effectiveness, I'm not sure. It might be slightly effective in memorizing things, however. But once again, just the important thing to take from this is that when you're writing out your common errors, that should already be done when you're evaluating all the assignments. So I feel like this is structured in the wrong way, but otherwise it's fine.
Okay, thank you, Shayan, for your reasoning. And another good point that Shayan mentioned there is to when you're evaluating your old assignment, you already should be writing down some errors that you made so that you know you won't make the same mistake again. Otherwise, it would just be unnecessary marks wasted because you're making the same mistake twice instead when you should be only really making it once, or even in some idealistic situations, no mistakes at all. So, Ayan, do you have any input based on this action plan part of this video?
I have heard somewhere that if you add colors to something, in some occasion, in some occasions it actually helps you remember things, but in other occasions it doesn't. And how it says evaluate on old assignments, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So it depends on how they're trying to say it. And as Shian was saying, a table is not necessarily a simple list would do the job. And writing common errors is actually helpful. It has helped me gain marks before, and it's very efficient.
Okay, thank you, Ayan and Shayan. Now, just to mention things that both Shayan and Ayan said, is that when you're evaluating old assignments, you should already be using writing common errors. And as Ayan said, it has proven useful for him. And also the colors, by the way, some for some people it is useful, otherwise for other people it isn't. So it's not a one size fits all kind of strategy that may be used for doing assignments, but other than that, all the aspects of the video are agreed to. So let's continue with the video. So let's look at this.
Takes to pay attention to. Break your tasks into smaller chunks and allot enough time for each of them. This would reduce the pressure of stringent deadlines.
So this specific segment talks about creating small goals to achieve bigger results. And it says breaking assignments into small chunks and setting realistic deadlines for each and to accomplish one at a time. So Shayan, if you have anything to say on this at all, anything to add on specifically, because I don't think there's anything to object about this video, in my opinion, because video pretty much covers it. But if you have anything to add, then please do.
No, it's pretty straightforward because when you have bigger tasks, especially assignments, what you want to do is that you want to look at each criteria, each part of your assignment, and you want to break it up, obviously, as they said here. And another thing I think they could have mentioned was that if you're going to start an assignment, when you're making small goals, try and also make a scaffold at the same time. When I say scaffold, if you have a research assignment, in your assignment, you'll have certain parts to it, right? and these certain parts will, what's it called? Sorry, I'm just trying to remember. Yep. These certain parts will stack up together. What am I saying? No. When you're making your assignment, you're going to break it up into parts, and you'll want to start off with your scaffold. Your scaffold is basically all your headings for your research assignment. So you'd have your bibliography here at the very last page, you'd have your conclusion there, you'd have your research here, and then on top of that, you'd have images on a different slide, different analysis. So you want to make sure you have all your headings. Your headings act as your scaffold, and it also helps in organizing your research. So they could have mentioned how you want to do things such as breaking it up into scaffolds or making a scaffold to work with. And I know it's a little bit complicated to explain, but I hope that made sense.
Yep, it did make sense. And the thing that you're mentioning, Cheyenne, about scaffolds, it's really relevant not just for assignments, but for example, writing essays or writing, for example, any piece of writing has to follow a simple structure as to how you're gonna plan it out, plan your assignment out or whatever. So that's a good point made there by Cheyenne. So I'm gonna move on to the next point.
Line and help you do better. Now that you know your steps, the next big thing to do is work on reminding yourself the work as well as the plan that you have.
So this next part talks about gentle reminders. As it's in the name, it's about reminding you. It's about giving friendly reminders about when your assignment's due or what specific part needs to be done by this time. So let's go to Ayan. Now, what do you think about this specific part? About gentle reminders such as post-it notes or listing goals or whatever. Do you have any suggestions?
Me personally, I don't use that. I get it. I do it. That's it. I don't do any reminders. I just do it until I finish it. So I don't really use sticky notes, or I don't even know what lethargic means, but I don't do any of this stuff. I just get it done.
Okay, so thank you, Ayan. It's good to know that there's someone who doesn't specifically use this kind of strategy to plan out their assignment. But it's always good to know that to set deadlines, as I said before in the video, to make an action plan, you need to set deadlines for certain tasks, as it will help you stay more organized. But I agree with Ayan that you don't necessarily need post-it notes to do this, and you can just remember by using a diary or just writing it down somewhere while you're doing assignment. So Cheyenne, do you have anything to add on to this?
What I have done as a student is that I have actually used post-it notes. I'll take back the fact that I said as a student, because I've used post-it notes for certain work, and it has worked for me. The reason I stopped was because mostly I lost my post-it notes and I couldn't find them. But using post-it notes is actually very helpful, and it does work. I'll explain why. Because if you're at a working desk, you'll first turn to your post-it notes because it's something you physically put there, right? So when you start off anything, what usually happens is that you put a lot of attention to it. So when you have post-it notes, you usually put a lot of attention into the fact that you stuck them right next to you, and then you'll read through your post-it notes and try and organize them. Another thing that's actually fun, you can do it with post-it notes, is that you can get one post-it note up here, another one down there, and you can organize them based on priorities as well, which is really helpful. And we spoke about in our last live stream about priorities. And because of this, what you can do is, and because of this, post-it notes really useful. So I do recommend using post-it notes to remind yourself. And because it's a physical, tangible thing, it also works with the thing I mentioned previously about having your senses involved as well, and how that helps your memory. So yeah, using post-it notes is useful. I do have a quick question. Sorry, this is because I'm still a student. I'm trying to figure out what does it mean by do not go lethargic?
To be honest, I'm actually not sure about what not being lethargic means, but
And
uh, I think I'll quickly find out.
Okay,
This,
I just found out, sorry. Going lethargic basically means when you're being a little bit sluggish. And
oh,
yeah,
okay.
obviously, don't be sluggish.
Okay.
That's pretty
Yeah,
obvious.
of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, there is one thing I would like to mention, which is with listing goals. Goals, honestly, if we talk about things like exercise goals, those are hard to achieve. And when you list goals, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But when you list down your steps towards achieving that goal, that is actually much better. So as a student, instead of listing down your goal saying, "Oh, I want an A plus and everything," instead try and list down the little steps you're going to take to actually achieve that goal. So if you want to take all of this together, I want to get an A plus. So what will I do? I'll put down a sticky note saying, did I study for this? Did I go through this? Oh, I'm weak at this part of math. Let's say I'm weak at trigonometry and Pythagoras theorem. I'll put down a sticky note saying, go through Pythagoras theorem, re-go through, let's say, exercise 5E, for example. And doing this actually helps you a lot. So instead of listing goals, it's better to list the steps that you're actually going to use to achieve those goals. But that's it. Sorry for saying so much.
No, it's okay, Sean. And previously on our previous live streams, we have mentioned a lot about prioritization and goals. So for anyone who's watching this live stream on YouTube or Facebook, if you want to check out those previous live streams that we did on goals and prioritization, for example, you can check it out on the Young Innovators YouTube channel or Facebook on our Facebook page, and you can watch them there. And we have mentioned a lot of things about goals before and prioritization, and how so many people underestimate the importance of prioritizing certain work and assignments before others. So if you want to check it out, just over to Young Innovators YouTube channel and check it out there. Okay, so let's go to the video.
In yourself the work as well as the plan that you have. Feeling motivated already? Yes. Now that you are mentally ready to work on your writing task, let's us not leave the technical aspects aside. Let's see the technical to-dos to help you improve your grades in the assignment writing task. Definitely, every mission needs a little preparation, and so do you. Here's what you need to do before you roll up your sleeves for the mission A+. Also,
so this specific segment of the video talks about the technical aspects, so what you actually need to do in order what do you need to do rather for the actual assignment, and not just mentally preparing for it. So the first part of that video was just talking about mentally preparing yourself for the assignment and setting deadlines, setting goals, priorities, whatever. Now this actually talks about doing the actual assignment and actually preparing for it relating to the topic. So I'm going to ask Shayan, what do you think about the notes listed on the screen? And do you have anything to add on to that?
Nah, that's it. I think it's perfect as it is. I'm gonna be honest. It's always good to take notes. Another thing, if you have a subject, I'll always use math as an example because it's a subject that, let's say, I did well in when it comes to studying. So let's say you're done with the topic and your final exam or assignment or assessment or anything's coming up, right? Then what you would want to do, I know this is about assignments, but I'll talk a little bit about exams as well. When you're studying for that, best thing to do, go through everything that you've done throughout the whole year, all your topics and everything, and the topics that you've covered within your grade. Then either get a separate book or use your same exercise book and write down notes about every single thing since the beginning of your year or your term. This is if you want to get all your studying done in one go, and this is mostly useful for final exams. However, you can also use this for term exams and assignments as well. But otherwise, it's completely fine. Everything that they've said here so far makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Shayan. Can we go to Ayan now? Ayan, do you have any other points to add about the technical aspects of this? Or do you have anything to object about these certain points? Or would you like to add to what Shayan said?
Not really, as Shayan said, take notes, and that's basically all I have to say as well.
Okay, so the main thing we have to take away from here is just taking notes properly during during class about the actual assignment and its content, so that it will make doing your assignment easier. Let's go to the video.
Have something for munching. Constant energy source, better results. Read the class notes that you have prepared. Don't just read them, rearrange the information to form a source of your assignment.
This part talks about as you said before about taking notes, and this goes into a lot more detail about how to use your notes when doing your assignment. So, Shayan, do you have anything to add on this? So it says
What's with
highlight.
Yep.
You were saying something?
I was just gonna say, what's with all the tables? You shouldn't use tables in any way, and for note taking, tables are a bad idea. Using dot points or mind maps would make more sense, but you should not use tables for thing because mostly because of the fact that it restrains you. And on top of that, let's say I used a table for everything, it would make things harder to connect information. Because let's say I was trying to label a diagram, then in the table after drawing everything, then I would have to try and put an arrow from one side of the table to another. You shouldn't use tables for note taking. Simple as that. You can use dot points. You can draw diagrams yourself. Anything, all the work that students do, especially in senior years in high school, if you're taking notes, then the same way in which the same way in which teachers summarize information for you, when you're writing things down from a slideshow or when you're writing dot points, that's the same way you want to take notes. It's not very different in that aspect. So trying to invent a new way of taking notes isn't helpful. So I was just going to mention they should stop with all the tables. The tables aren't useful. Highlighting main contents I don't use. Instead of highlighting, I try and underline information because changing the color of the information doesn't make it easier for me to memorize something. Underlining it shows that it's very important for me to know that specific terminology or word. But otherwise, yeah, that's all.
Yep. Thank you, Shayan. Ayan, do you have any other points to add? Do you have anything, any
There was
personal preferences?
sorry. There was Shannon saying I don't. The tables, it's just gonna trigger your mind, and the highlighting you don't really need. But it is good to simplify your information to make it easier for you to expand on them or evaluate. And I was gonna say one more thing. Sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. Something else.
No, it's okay. A good effort though. Thanks, Ayan. We'll go back to the video.
Proper class notes is the secret the topper never wanted you to know. The class notes will help you have a basic idea of what to include and what not to include in your assignment. Visit the libraries to collect more information on the topic and add it along.
This part talks about visiting the library. From now, before I go to the panel, I'll say my personal preference that first thing, I don't really need to go to the library because nowadays all of the information is available on the internet. You can
Yeah,
get resources from your teachers and your school. So visiting to the library would be probably, in my case, my last resort if I can't find
yep.
any information on the internet or from my school whatsoever. Then and only then I would have to go to the library. Now, Shayan, do you have anything to add on to this? You
Yeah, I
go
was
to the
gonna say the
library?
exact same thing. Libraries isn't if you're gonna study this, the only reason you go to libraries for peace and quiet. You'd only go there for a study environment as a student. Otherwise, any resources you're looking in the library, you can also find online. And otherwise, if you're looking for certain textbooks or something, you can go to online websites like Z Library, where you can find any textbook you want for free. And otherwise, yeah, a library and plus libraries wouldn't have extra resources that students use. Let's say I'm looking for a math textbook, you'd barely find those in libraries. So I wouldn't recommend visiting to the library. If you're trying to do research, you usually do research at home or on a computer. You don't need to go to a library.
Yep, I agree with Shan 100%. Ayan, do you have any points to add? Any
Same
reactions
as
to this?
both of you were saying. Um, sorry, you don't really need any more information unless you're like you weren't paying attention and you weren't writing down or anything. Library would be a last resort, but the problem with library is that it's gonna take double the time because first you gotta travel to the library and then and it's gonna take double the time, double the effort, and after that we have Google, modern technology. I mean, it's kind of obvious unless you're gonna do the old school way, but I don't think anyone's gonna be bothered. And library, same as Shian was saying, when you're around high school senior, you don't you really only go there for peace and quiet.
Yep, I agree with both of you 100%. And one thing that Ayan really perfectly mentioned is about the inconvenience of going to the library, as it takes double the time and double the effort to go there. And like me and Ayan said, it would be a last resort to go to the library unless you haven't been paying attention and writing notes, as it said before. And visiting library, therefore, would kind of be redundant, meaning it's not really necessary if you've done all the things before. So let's go to video.
To collect more information on the topic and add it along with the draft where you have reframed the class notes. You have the information ready. Now move to the next step and prepare an outline of the work. This could be your heading with subheadings or simply the information that you have gathered so far arranged in a sequence. An outline of your assignment is the easiest way to check if you are missing on any information. Once you have the basic structure ready, start filling words to it.
So this part talks about outlining your success, as they like to call it. So I think Shayan mentioned this before about scaffolding. So Shayan, would you like to repeat what you said before about
What I was
this?
saying is that when you're doing an assignment, first things first is that you want to look at your main points and your main headers. So let's say I'm doing an assignment or researching certain organism. I would want to talk about the organism, its adaptations, its habitat, its ecology, its interactions, and its the food web it's a part of, right? So then I'll make a header for each one of these. And then if there's any need to make subheadings, I'll make subheadings. This helps me so when I start researching, what will happen is that it helps me dump all the information in the right categories, and it helps me organize the information. The thing that I'm a little bit confused about is obviously the image on the right, as in like, I don't know why it's structured like this, but I think this is mostly about making notes at home versus actually writing up assignments. But what it's saying is really useful even when writing notes, because when you write headings and notes and stuff, it helps you organize your notes as well. So it applies to both assignments and note taking. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Shayan. I think the image on the right probably is just a person's personal preference. Otherwise, I wouldn't personally do this, nor would Shayan. Ayan, do you have anything to add on this? What
Same as you
Shayan
guys
said?
were saying, I wouldn't do what was on the right. I would plan it completely differently. It depends on what assignment you're also doing. If you this is for English, one second. Sorry, if I was gonna say. So yeah, I wouldn't personally use the right side image. I'd make my own, and while I'm taking notes, I'd have headers and everything. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say. I feel like say something else.
Okay, thank you, Ayan, for your input. Let's go to the video.
Do not start as if this is your final work. Just arrange the information you have collected in a way to reflect what information goes where. Once you have filled the sheet, all you need to do is frame proper sentences and complete writing your assignment. Here use simple language and take care of the word count too. When you are working on the writing task, do not miss to add some interesting examples in the work. This would
So this part talks about adding examples to specific concepts, and I think it's talking about adding examples to your notes when explaining certain concepts or ideas. So Shayan, do you support this kind of technique, or do you have something different?
When it says interesting examples, could you give me like one to work with? Because I don't really understand what they mean. Apologies.
It's okay. So in the video, it says simple present tense, and it describes it as a noun singular plus verb plus.
What I'm asking is that what does it mean by interesting examples?
I think like examples that you can easily recall and examples that work for you to understand the specific information, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. When it comes to using interesting examples, I feel like if you're directing this towards students, that wouldn't be helpful. I'll explain why. Because when students think of interesting examples, they'll think of something that's unique or out of the ordinary, right? And that's usually what you think when you think interesting. And that's not what students should be thinking. I'll explain why. Because when you do that, what happens is that you might associate a friend's name within one of your examples, right? So I might say, oh, he did this, right? So my friend, let's say Farhan did such and such thing. Now, in reality, even though this is interesting, it doesn't make the example easier to memorize. In fact, it might make it harder because of the fact that because it's a joke about my friend, I might forget it easily, like we do with many other things in regards to our friends and during the little things we do in class. So that's one mistake someone might make when they think of adding interesting examples. Other than that, there might be other unique examples, but if you can make an example significant to you, then it makes it easier to actually, what's it called, memorize that certain concept. So I think that's what they were meant to say instead of interesting. So instead of interesting, you want to make the example more significant or more relevant to you. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yep. Thank you, Shayan. Ayan, do you have anything to add?
I don't really have anything to add, but something personal. I've never used such thing as interesting examples. I've never heard of it, never seen it. Don't usually use that in writing unless it says it's compulsory, but I don't think it is so far.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes it's not necessarily compulsory that you add examples to your assignment, but if it is compulsory, then I mean, there's no other way to dodge it other than to give an example. So let's move on to the video. Thank you to both of you.
Make it easier for the professor to evaluate your understanding of the topic. Now that you have filled up the sheet with all the required information, just make it a little presentable. Add some images or flow graphs to explain your concept clearly. Visually
Now, this part specifically talks about refining the actual experiment. So once you've done the collecting and the drafting, for example, you start to arrange it in a specific aesthetic way that makes it presentable. So Shan, do you have any suggestions on this? Do you support this?
Yes, because it did work for me in certain circumstances, mostly being when you have, let's say you're doing commerce, right, as a subject. And if when I was in year 10, we did commerce, we were talking about, let's say, I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh, no, this was geography, sorry. We were talking about geography, we were talking about environments, and then we had three categories of environment, three categories of things we want to look at whenever looking at an environment or ecology. And when we look at it, it's like, I don't know, something to do with like uh, biological resources, this and that. And then what happened is that they presented it in the exact same way. They had a table, and then they had a heading, and then they wrote all these dot points right next to it. And although technically this is going against what I said about making tables, for generic notes you never want to make tables. But for something like this, where you have like categories and you want to break it down into very massive parts of information, it is useful to make it aesthetically pleasing, and it does help in memorization as well. It also helps you to categorize the data correctly in your head. So yes, this is useful. However, don't use it too often sometimes, because using it too much, obviously, you don't want to get mixed up with normal notes. Only use it for specific examples and only large points of information that can be categorized.
Yep. Thank you, Shayan. And like he said, he still sticks to this point about not using generic tables when you're writing notes. But in certain circumstances, you actually have to use tables to present information in an aesthetic way because simply there's no other way. Ayan, do you have anything to add?
Me personally, in primary, I've never used this before. What they say, like, I don't know how to explain this, but like, I don't usually use this in primary, but I feel like when I get to high school, I'm saying that I'd really, if I was in high school, I'd really only use it for like the important main events or main lessons. Like I would say, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ayan. Let's go to the video.
add some images or flow graphs to explain your concept clearly. Visually explaining things is easier than doing so through words. Now that you have included the images in the work, you already had examples ready, and you have filled up the sheet with a lot of interesting and comprehensive information. The final step is to read your work and edit it to perfection. Just check there are no loopholes or any room for error. A well-written work is evaluated well only when it is well edited. So, now that you are mentally and technically ready, Just gather your writing tools and start working on your assignments now. This is short time tested strategy, so just roll your sleeves up and see your dream grades coming your way.
Okay, so that was the end of the video, and the last part was just talking about editing your main work and just finalizing your overall assessment. So now I'm gonna ask the panel, do you have any final suggestions about the overall video and what it should have included?
Well, this is basically a conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then let me just quickly open up something just so I know. Give me a sec. Anyways, when it comes to how the video was made, first of all, everything that was written in the video, you have dot points, right? The way in which the narrator actually said everything, number one, it's obvious that the narrator was a robot voice, number one. Number two was that the narrator should have spoken about what was being written in the slideshow, because it makes it harder for students to memorize everything that's being said, especially if it's not being especially if it's not related to what they were saying. There should be a conclusion slide in this slideshow, right?
Yeah, I see.
Yep. And then next slide after this basically tells us what we want to talk about here. So if you're ever making a video to help other people, obviously if you're having notes on the screen, you want the narrator to be talking about those notes. Because if you don't talk about those notes, it doesn't help that much now, does it? Otherwise, when it comes to... Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is that obviously it looked a little bit cheaper, especially with how the marker was going and going through the whole video. And another thing on top of that is that I feel like I wouldn't recommend this video for someone else because some things were inaccurate and some things would be time consuming. As I mentioned, tables was the number one thing that we kept bringing up over and over again. Finally, yeah, that would be it. Sorry for saying so much, but that's about it. I feel like the video could have been improved on in various aspects.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. The video could be improved in a lot of aspects, especially with the fact that they use tables for pretty much almost every single aspect of every single tip they gave in the video, which in a few aspects is worth it. Otherwise, it's not. So thank you, Cheyenne, for your thoughts. Ayan, do you have any concluding thoughts about the video itself and what it should have added and what it should have like cut out?
Not really. I mean, if you were to, I just want to say maybe edit the video a little bit more and maybe take out too many tables. Like, you can't have tables for everything. If you're gonna have tables for everything, your brain's gonna be like, "What was this table for? But why is this table similar to this one?" Your brain's just gonna go cuckoo, and then you're gonna go into stress, and that's just gonna make it worse. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So if you were to, so for the viewers who are watching, if you were to take one thing away from this video, just do not use tables unless it is extremely necessary. Because tables, in my opinion, are an inorganic way of learning. Because tables follow a rigid, ordered structure, which is not the way that we learn. We like to learn things the way we want to learn it. And so using flowcharts, diagrams, mind maps, like Cheyenne said, for your notes is actually a good way of doing the assignment, and not just for assignments, but for exams, assessments, whatever, general schoolwork. So this is a good advice for me. Otherwise, that is the end of this live stream. Thanks for watching. And before we end this live stream, just 1 second. So before we end this live stream, I would like to discuss about the Young Innovators Club, and we are now accepting new members of the Young Innovators Club. So just a quick heads up, all the people you're seeing in this live stream right now, our panel, including me, are all part of the Young Innovators Club. The Young Innovators Club is basically a club where we work on our studying habits, how to make them better, productive, and it's way more detailed than just the live streams we show to you now every single week. And we think of new ideas to work on. So, for example, new projects, new assignments to work on, exciting projects, including this live stream. We came up with this a few weeks ago, and it has been so far very successful. We have received good feedback from this. We plan and run workshops to share our knowledge and passion for others to others. And just a quick heads up, some of the workshops we run, some of them due to the coronavirus pandemic are run online. So for example, we run coding, robotics, creativity, and many other workshops which can help with improving your extracurricular skills, and they follow an organic way of learning, which is always good to exhibit from a student. And we work on many more things as well. So if you're interested in joining the Young Innovators Club, it's for people who are from 10 for at least 10 years old. So if you want to sign up, you can sign up on the link in the screen below. So 10yurl.com/yin yic. So thanks for watching this live stream, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. And please like, subscribe to the Young Innovators YouTube channel. And thanks for watching. See you next time.